Welcome to this tutorial. The following slides will discuss the process for performing water right research using the Oregon Water Resources Department's interactive mapping utility. Here is an image of the utility we will be discussing. As we work our way through this tutorial, we will describe what the interactive mapper is, limitations that you will encounter while performing research, how to locate water rights using three methods: the site address of the property, the township range and section location of the property, and the latitude and longitude of a specific point. In addition, we will provide additional information and resources to aid in your research and interpretation of water rights. What is the interactive mapper? The interactive mapper is one tool that the department has available to locate water rights. It is a visual utility to access water right information. Essentially, it is a visual database of water rights in Oregon. This tool is not the final say on whether a water right is present. The official record of the water right is the permit, certificate, registration, such as an exempt pond or limited license, or order of determination for the water use. The mapper provides visual descriptions of places of use, also referred to as POUs. These places of use are identified by either green polygons or green polypoints for surface water, and pink polygons or pink polypoints for groundwater uses. In addition, surface water points of diversion, frequently referred to as PODs, and groundwater points of appropriation, frequently referred to as POAs, are also identified. As with the place of use, the mapper relies on either green polypoints for surface water or pink polypoints for groundwater to identify the location of the point of diversion. It should be noted that many of the department's water right tracking tools refer to both a surface water point of diversion and a groundwater point of appropriation as a point of diversion or POD. In addition to the visual descriptions, the utility provides the user the ability to obtain specific water right information through either the POD or POU table. These tables are linked to the Water Rights Information Search, commonly referred to as WRIS. Using WRIS, the user can access specific documents related to the right, such as the permit, permit map, certificate, and certificate map. Again, these documents are the official record of the water right. The data visually represented by the mapper is based on Water Resources Department staff's interpretation of the water right documents and the best fit placement using the various layers available in our GIS system, such as aerial photos, the Public Land Survey System, and topographical maps. As these various layers do not always fall into perfect alignment, staff refer to the map of record and decide how to best spatially place the POU and POD. In some cases, the water right, both the POU and POD, may not be specifically mapped. In these cases, the POU or POD may be identified only to the quarter level. In these cases, the POU is identified by a small diamond-shaped polygon centered within the quarter section where the use is located. The same is true for the location of the point of diversion. In these cases, the POD is identified by a small triangle in the center of the quarter. By using the Identify feature on these symbols, the user can access water right specific information through the POD and POU tables linked to WRIS as previously mentioned. Another limitation of the mapping tool is that not all water rights have been mapped. Example of rights not mapped are filings that are in the application stage for proposed uses, water rights managed by an irrigation district, as they are subject to frequent changes, and canceled water rights. In addition, Certain reservoirs or ponds for which notifications were submitted to the department are not mapped. These ponds and reservoirs are referred to with a P prefix to designate the filing as an exempt pond. Again, it is important to note that the information displayed on the interactive mapper is not the official record of the water right. The interactive mapper is a tool that can assist the user in locating links to the official record of the water right. Since we are talking about water rights, we should probably quickly describe what a water right is. With few exceptions, all water belongs to the public, that is you and I. A water right is an authorization that allows a person, business, or governmental entity to put the waters of the public to beneficial use. Most water rights contain the following common elements: a source or sources, such as a spring, a creek, a river, lake, pond, or reservoir for a surface water right, and a well or sump for a groundwater right. An authorized use or uses, such as domestic, irrigation, industrial, or municipal. A priority date, which is used to determine who gets water in times of shortage. The more senior or older the water right, the longer water may be available in time of shortage. A location or locations of the points of diversion by township, range, section, and quarter, and specific coordinate ties to a recognized land survey corner. A location or locations of the place of use by township, range, section, quarter, and conditions of the use. Some examples of conditions contained in water rights are items such as the period of allowed use, the maximum seasonal or yearly volumes of use, requirements for measurement devices and reporting of water use, the installation of fish protection devices, specific well construction standards, and the measurement and reporting of static water level measurements of the well. Here is an example of a certificate for a domestic use right and the map associated with it. As you can see, many of the elements that were discussed on the previous slide are present on this document. Here is an example of a certificate issued for an irrigation use and the map associated with it. As you can see, the common elements that were previously discussed are also present on this document. We are now ready to begin using the interactive mapper to search for water rights. The interactive mapper is only 2 quick clicks away from the department's homepage. Under Water Rights, select Find Water Rights. Then, under Water Rights Tools, select Interactive Water Right Maps. Now that we've gone through some background information, we will begin going through the specific steps necessary to search the interactive mapper for water rights using the site address, township range and section information, and latitude and longitude. On this image, you will see the location of the search criteria data entry points for the 3 most common sets of criteria used to search for water rights. As you can see, the drop menu on the left side of the screen offers additional criteria that can be used to search for water rights. This tutorial will only discuss the 3 most common criteria. To search using the site address, it is important that you know the street or situs address of the property, as the mailing address of the property may be different. To begin your search, you will first need to clear the default address out of the search window. This can be accomplished by clicking on the gray circle with the X located on the right end of the search window. Once the default address is cleared, enter the site address for the property, and then select the magnifying glass on the left side of the address you just entered. The mapper will move you to the approximate location of the address that you've entered. Here is the result of a site address query for a property on Elliott Road near Clatskanie, Oregon. In some cases, you may need to zoom in or out to orient yourself. A second method that can be used to locate a water right is the search by township, range, and section. Prior to searching by township, range, and section, you may need to locate this information by reviewing documents such as a deed or tax lot information. To begin the search, be sure that the search criteria is set to TRS. Next, you will enter the township, range, and section information. You will notice that for the township, you will need to indicate whether the township is north or south, and that for the range, you will need to indicate whether the range is west or east. Once you have entered the information, click on the magnifying glass. The mapper will move you to the approximate location you have entered. Here is the query of the Township, Range, and Section query for the same property on Elliott Road near Clatskanie. In some cases, you may need to zoom in order to orient yourself and to more easily identify the locations of water right places of use and points of diversion. In order to search by latitude and longitude, you will first need to select the latitude-longitude criteria in the search box. Next, you will enter the latitude and longitude information that you have available. This information can be entered as either decimal degrees or as decibel minutes seconds. Once you have entered the latitude and longitude information, click on the magnifying glass that corresponds with the type of data you have just entered. The mapper will move you to the approximate location based on the data that you have provided. Here is the result of the same property on Elliott Road near Clatskanie. This time, the query was based on latitude and longitude information. Again, in some cases, you may need to zoom in order to orient yourself. You have entered your location information, either site address, township, range, and section, or latitude and longitude. Now what? The results of your search criteria has taken you to a specific location on the mapper. The default base map is a topographic map. In many cases, switching to a different base map can aid in your research. For example, the image on your screen is the same area near Clatskanie that we've been discussing. As you can see, the aerial photo provides additional details and features that can be useful in orienting yourself. The aerial photo base map and the street layer base map are located under the Switch Base Map tab on the right side of the mapping utility. The measurement tools are also helpful. Within this feature are tools for measuring the area and the distance between points. In addition, a location tool allows the user to identify a specific point and obtain latitude and longitude information in either degrees or degrees, minutes, and seconds. When using the location tool, the user has the option to either observe the latitude and longitude as the cursor moves around the screen, or to select a specific point on the map to identify that latitude and longitude. The coordinates provided next to the arrow symbol are fluid as the cursor moves around the screen, and the coordinates next to the green drop pin represent the latitude and longitude for that selected point. In many locations, there are either a considerable number of rights or large rights that cover a vast area. Due to the display, it may be difficult to orient yourself with features on the ground, such as roads, streams, or other features. Using a variety of different layer management tools, the view can be changed to aid in the research of an area. In this case, the map is identifying both surface and groundwater rights. The surface water rights are displayed in green and the groundwater rights in pink. In order to see the features that are beneath the displayed water rights, the user can adjust the transparency of the rights by using the slide located under the Layers tab on the left side of the screen. As you can see, by sliding the bar to the left, the water rights become more transparent and the features of the base map become more visible. Using the same location, here is another example using the transparency tool. In this case, the base map is imagery. As you can see, with the water rights more transparent, you can see the features beneath the displayed water rights, such as the roads, buildings, and field boundaries. As with the transparency tool in Layers, additional filters are also available under the Layers tab to aid in your research. The filters allow you to display rights by water use type or the water source. The water use types are broken into 3 categories: storage water, surface water, and groundwater. In addition, the filters can be applied for water right by use, being the character of use, water rights by primary or supplemental, to display municipal boundaries, and identify points of diversion by source type. In addition, there are other layer options to aid in the analysis of water rights, such as river miles, stream gauges, and administrative and rule layers. By checking the box next to water rights by use, you will see an additional filter option. In this case, you can see a list of uses with check marks. These are the uses that will be displayed. The user can narrow their search criteria by managing which uses are checked. Again, only those that are checked will be displayed. In the previous examples, we've been focusing on the place of use. Here is an example using the PODs by source type filter. As you can see, the mapper now displays the PODs by source, being reservoirs, sumps, springs, streams, and wells. As with any of the mapper results, by using the Identify button under the Search tab, information related to the water right at the POD can be accessed. As mentioned on the previous slide, information about the PODs and the associated rights within an area can be viewed using the Identify button. Here, you can see that after the Identify button has been selected, the user is prompted to select an area using their mouse. The following slide will show the results of that selection. Depending on how zoomed into an area the map is at the time of the selection, the mapper may adjust the level of zoom to identify the rights. Here is the result of the selected area from the previous slide. The PODs and places of use that are located within the selected area are highlighted. In order to view information about a specific water right, the user can click on the Details link under the WRIS header in either the POD or POU tabs. The table is linked to the department's Water Right Information System. The Details link will take the user to a page where you can find copies of the permit, permit map, certificate, and certificate map. As mentioned earlier, these are the official records of the water right. The Details link on the POD table brings us into WRIS. As you can see, this page contains a wide variety of information about the water right. The text in blue are links that will provide additional information or documents concerning the right. By selecting the Document link behind Certificate 16832, the user can view the certificate issued for this water use. By selecting the Paper Map link behind Certificate 16832, the user can view the Final Proof Survey map associated with the right. The Final Proof Survey identifies the location of the point of diversion and the place of use. You will not always find a map at the Paper Map link. Another place on the WRIS page where you may find documents is under the Scanned Documents tab. As with PODs, information about places of use within an area can be identified using the Identify button. Again, after the Identify button has been selected, the user is prompted to select an area using their mouse. The following slide will show the results of that selection. In this case, the search has been narrowed down to a small portion of the mapper. Again, the mapper may adjust the level of zoom to identify the rights associated with the selected area. Here is the result of the selected area from the previous slide. The POU located within the selected area is highlighted. As we have previously discussed, in order to view information about a specific water right, the user can click on the Details link under the WRIS header in either the POD or POU tabs. The table is linked to the Department's Water Right Information System. The Details link will take the user to a page where you can find copies of the permit, permit map, certificate, and certificate map. As mentioned earlier, these are the official records of the water right. The Details link on the POU table brings us into WRIS. Again, the text in blue are links that will provide additional information or documents concerning the right. As previously mentioned, another location on the WRIS page where you may find useful documents is under the Scan Documents tab. In this case, you will find links to the permit and certificate document. In other cases, you may find links to other water right process documents such as initial reviews, proposed final orders, extensions, assignments, ownership updates, and other useful documents. Many times, as with this selected area, the selection will result in multiple rights being identified. To aid in the identification of the location of the individual rights in the POD and POU table, the mapper has a feature that will highlight the place of use and point of diversion for a single right in the POD or POU table. When multiple records appear in the POD table, you can identify the POD associated with a specific right by highlighting the row for that right in the POD table. The POD or PODs for that right will be identified with a red symbol on the mapper. When the row for a specific water right is highlighted in the POU table, the footprint of the water right is highlighted with red dots. As with the previous slide, once you have identified a right you are interested in, select the Details link in the table, and the WRIS page for that right will open, where you can then look at specific documents related to the right. Notices of exempt ponds were received in the mid-1990s. These pond filings are also known as P files. These notices have not been mapped. In order to check a location for an exempt pond, you will need to use the Platcard utility located on the Water Right Information search page. The Platcard utility identifies filings in a tabular format, tracking uses within a section by the quarter in which the use is located. In order to search using the Platcard utility, you will need to know the township, range, and section information for the area where the pond is located. A word of caution. Although the Platcard may indicate the existence of a pond, there may be very little information in the Water Rights Information System for that filing. Although we are discussing how to search for records related to pond filings, this utility is yet a separate way that water right research can be performed. The link to the Platcard utility is located on the same page as the interactive mapper. Once you have navigated to the Platcard utility, enter the township, range, and section for the area you are researching. Be sure to indicate whether the township is north or south and whether the range is east or west. One quick tip, adjust the records per page to 999. This will allow you to scroll through the records without having to research page by page. Here are the results of a search using the Platcard utility. As you can see, pond filings are identified. The location of the pond within the section may be noted with an asterisk in the specific quarter column. If the location is unknown or is unclear, the pond location will be noted by an asterisk in the unknown QQ or quarter column. A few quick tips about using the Platcard utility. The first is that by clicking on a header at the top of the Platcard table, the table will be sorted based on that column. As each header sorts the data using a different set of criteria, You should experiment by clicking on a header 2 times in order to familiarize yourself with the sorting order and criteria. Sorting the data, especially by quarter headers, like the northeast or northwest of the northeast, can be helpful when researching a specific area. The second is that once you've identified a record that you are interested in reviewing, simply click on the Select link located on the left side of the app reference. This link will take you to the Water Right Information System, or WRIS page, where you can then find additional information about the use. Here is the WRIS page for an exempt pond filing in Polk County. The information in WRIS is very limited. In rare instances, you may find copies of the notices and associated map in the Scan Documents tab. If your research does identify one of these pond filings and you need additional information concerning the filing, you will need to contact our customer service group. Their contact information is included at the end of this presentation. Additional, in-depth information about the interactive mapper can be found by selecting the Help button at the top of the mapping utility. The user guide contains information about navigating around the mapper, description of how to understand the data, and other helpful information. If you are interested in learning more about water rights, check out the publication Water Rights in Oregon, also referred to as the Aqua Book. This publication discusses water right topics such as priority dates, steps for obtaining a new water right, transferring or changing a water right, exempt uses of water, and other general information about the water rights system. In many cases, it is helpful to check an assessor map in order to locate properties. The ORMAP link will take you to a page that contains assessor's maps for each county in the state. Thank you for taking the time to view this presentation. If you have additional questions about water rights or how to search for them, you can contact our customer service group or your local water master.